Let's start by talking about who the biggest winners were from January camp. Who do you think is the biggest winner from the camp?
There's a couple. I think if I was to place like one winner's medal, if I had one just like blue ribbon to give out, I would say probably Patrick Adjamang. I think, scoring in both games, it wouldn't really be a position of need for the U.S. national team, but I wouldn't also say that striker is a massive position of depth like midfield is. So maybe you could see him breaking into the national team eventually. The problem for Adjamang is that he's a little older than you would expect a player to be like breaking in or blossoming. So his time is a little shorter and the margins are thinner. But I would say he's probably the number one winner for me. I think he was very impressive, first in a start and then off the bench. I think what's funny about Adjamang is that I think he kind of did what Greg Berhalter wanted Fuller and Balogun to be. Berhalter constantly talked about how Fuller and Balogun's like one of the best players at running between the lines and line breaking he's ever seen in the world. And he's not wrong. Balogun displayed that a lot. Berhalter's thing was we stink at finding him. We have to find Balogun, right? Adjamang kind of did what they wanted Balogun to do, which was run between the lines and receive passes that broke the defensive line. And that's positive. Now, Berhalter's gone and Pochettino's here, but Pochettino's a better manager. So maybe you would expect him to be able to produce what Berhalter couldn't, which was finding players running in between the lines. So in that sense, Adjamang might be a good fit for this Pochettino system. It's going to be really hard for him to break through. I think we'll talk about this a little bit more, but it's mostly true for Adjamang, but it pervades through the whole camp that none of these players are going to find their way in immediately from January camp. January camp just isn't that anymore. You're not going to be able to have a good January and break your way into the first choice roster as a depth piece. January camp is now one step in the process of breaking in. And I think Adjamang passed that step, and now he has to have another good MLS season. He's got one good MLS season under his belt. He passed the January camp test. Now he's got to have another. If he has another good MLS season, I could see him now being an option. It's just really hard to break into the first choice team now as an MLS player. And so he had a good camp, but he's got to show more. But I think he would be my biggest winner.
Yeah. That's who I had written down as my biggest winner as well. I mean, if you look at the two goals that he scored, two impressive goals that were each a little bit different. The first one, he gets the ball, is in a one-on-one position, just kind of manhandles that guy, gets a goal in. And then the second one, he's a little bit out wide, gets the ball at full sprint. When he shoots the ball, I don't think there's any shot that it's going in. I mean, the angle was too tough. I mean, but he gets it in there with power without a dead goalkeeper has no chance. I mean, so it was two different impressive goals. And then just the size of this guy, man. I think the thing that I remember even more than the goals is after the first game against Venezuela when he came on the, I don't know if you watched the broadcast, he came on and stood next to the four people on the broadcast. And I'm like, he looked like a giant standing amongst like kids. I mean, this guy just looks like a physical specimen. So yeah, he had a really, really amazing camp.